she battles with her health.
Yeah. Well, maybe you could start, Ruby, by just telling me, how did your life change with the reclamation? What were you doing before, and how did things change for you?
Well, before, I was different. I think the reclamation site made me grow up in areas of our people where I wasn't in tune with that at all. And I didn't know very much about the Confederacy, also things that happened there. But I learned about our people in a new way. It made me love them and respect, and it gave me a different viewpoint of the issues that we were facing. It made me care. And I grew to love everybody here, and I found the good in a lot of people when we start pulling together. And it was hard at the beginning when that threat was over our head about being raided, and we never knew when it was going to happen. I'm not afraid to confront issues now. It made me pretty bold.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to the benefit of everybody, but I think it works for me.
I'm just gonna see if we can turn off this. So there was that. So what are some moments that sort of stand out for you as being the most amazing moments that happened here?
I think it was when McHale came down the first time, and we had people lined up out there to come and eat. And people were bringing food. We fed people probably starting around 10 o'clock in the morning till around 10 at night, steady. Just fed the people, I don't know how many there were. And our community, and it was non-natives as well, who brought trays and trays of food of every kind. What a selection everybody had, you know? And they came in here, and we had people steadily cooking in here as well. And somehow, we fed them. And I was in awe. I thought that was unreal to feed that many people. But it worked, and together we were able to do it. And that's one of the things that really amazed me. There was no room in here to move around. There were so many people. And, but it was still good, and everybody came out. I think that was so wonderful. All our people and non-natives came in. That was just great. And it made you realize that being a Haudenosaunee person, like we're used to the underlying prejudice in hearts of people. And that's not new. I think what is shocking is that it took such a little thing for Caledonia to fall apart. And the real feelings that they had for us come out in such a vicious way. I think that really shocked me.
What were some of the examples of that racism?
Well, I think when you go to the barricade and you hear them, and they were saying that we scared their children. No, we didn't scare their children. They did. When you have little ones out at night and you have grown-ups screaming and hollering and yelling in the dark, that's frightening to a little child. And they had their children with them. there was a lot of little ones out there that heard that. And those kids will never forget that. I don't care what the parents say, they'll never forget that. And I think that Caledonia is going to be feeling the absence of their presence for a very long time to come. I know the Bible says, what you sow, you reap. And that's just about what's going to happen. They're going to do a lot of reaping over there. And a lot of the money that came into their town, not even their town, but I mean, you know, like what I mean, there's stores that are there. All the monies that came there from the First Nations people. There's a few people will shop there yet, but there's a big majority of them that won't. And they will miss that money. And then when they did whining to the government and said that people weren't shopping there, they were right. But it wasn't the non-natives that they were missing, it was us. That's what they were missing, and they still are. And that's going to go on for a long time. I bet you any money there's First Nations people who will never shop there again, ever. But who brought it on? We never. We didn't start that. Then barricades never needed to happen. If they'd have just left us alone to negotiate with the Henkel brothers, that's all they had to do. And bring the government in here, all that other stuff never needed to take place. And it wasn't initiated by us.
What do you think the effects have been for the children of Six Nations?
I would imagine if there's anything different, it would be in the schools. How they would be treated in the schools. That would probably be where it would show up. If there's any differences or if there's any racial things going on, adults can let it bounce off them, but children are different. And our children that go to school on the reserve wouldn't notice it, but it would be those that go to high school. They're probably the ones that would feel it. It's too bad because you pass that kind of stuff down to your kids. And then when they grow up, that's who they are. Because everybody knows that you're what you were raised and what you're taught. That's who you are. And when you see that happening over there, the things that were said about us, it just made us look like we weren't human. It's really sad.
You say that the reclamation has changed you a lot. Do you see that it's changed a lot of other people in your community?
I think that our people who have always been treated with the racial undertones always knew that was there. And that's something that causes anger in the hearts of the people going back many generations. And when you see how that has affected the parents, how they feel, my mother had a lot of it. She had a lot of anger in her heart toward people and how we were treated. But somehow, I didn't have that. I didn't have that anger, mainly because of my life as a Christian, that wasn't there. And I pray it never is, because it's not good.
What do you think is what's happening now after the reclamation? I know you're involved with a number of other protests. Could you tell us a bit about those?
Well, the government has abandoned us, both for federal and provincial governments. They have abandoned us. They've left us to fend for our lands our own way. When we asked them to stop the developments and the patents and permits being given out on our lands, Ron Doring said no. They were not going to stop that. So that put Six Nations against the municipalities. to do the best we can to bring to the attention of all the developers that we could arrive. And we could stop their projects and their developments, which would cost them thousands of dollars a day. We know that the mayors of Brantford and the one of Waterloo and Kitchener and all through there, I know that they want to arrest us. They want to push it so that when we come to have a demonstration that we would be arrested and taken to jail. And I made it very clear and plain to them that they don't misunderstand that no matter where we go on the Haldeman track, we're home. We're not trespassing. We're not vagrants. We're there as owners of that land. They said that we sold land. And I brought up to the mayor in Mount Pleasant the other night. I said, according to the treaties that we have, it's for our perpetual use forever and was never to be sold. That means a very long time to come. And if it was never ever to be sold, then who sold it? We never. So that would mean that the sales were illegal and they came from the government. So the government is making out like we released some of our lands. No, we didn't. We leased land, but we never got the money. And if we don't get the money, then the lease is broken. No matter who you are, whether you're Haudenosaunee or you're a non-native, if you lease something to somebody and they don't pay you, they broke the lease. It doesn't take 182 years to figure it out. And that's pretty much what they've done so far. And when I brought that up to him, I said, I don't know about I said, going by your English dictionary, never means never. That means we didn't sell our land. They were coming to us for our land, giving us documents we couldn't read. Anybody can put a shaky X on something. That doesn't mean that person signed it. And that should not be legal. And now they're saying that their stand is that we intended, get a load of this, we intended to sell this land. That's all they got to go on, that we intended to sell it. They got no documents, no proof, up to now in 2 years, that shows that we sold this land. They offered $26 million for 182 years of using our land. They made millions and millions and millions of dollars on that Welland Canal. We built it. They stole our land to build it. They flooded our fields. They flooded the gardens and the crops that the people had going on at that time. They gave the Henkel brothers $16 million for 140 acres in 10 weeks. 10 weeks. And they want to give us $26 million for 2,500 acres for 182 years. Now, I may not have gone to college, but I got to tell you that don't add up in my corner. And I told Murray Cooligan, in Toronto a week ago when I was there. I like getting at them guys. I told him, I said, you know, Ron, or not Ron, Murray, I said, you know, you have not even walked in a ballpark figure of what that is worth. I said, you know. I said, I don't care what you say. You're going to come to that decision. You'll come into that area because we're not going to be fooled and tricked anymore. The good thing about all of this, they educated us according to their ways. Some of our people are lawyers. They know those documents that they're handing out now. They can't cheat us and rob us and lie to us anymore. We can read English. And now they're going to deal with us in a way they've never ever dealt with us since they arrived in this country. I told Ron Doring that we were a sovereign nation. He jumped right up and he said, I asked Alan McNaughton, do you think you're a sovereign nation? And he said, yes. He said, well, if I said you weren't, what would you say? He said, I'd tell you we are. He said, so it doesn't matter what I say. I said, you're right. It doesn't matter what you say. I said, we're a sovereign nation. We can make our institutes, which is the HDI, and it's legal and binding in this country because we're a nation of our own. We don't need your laws. We don't need your permission to make our own institutes. We can do it on our own. And he couldn't deny it.
Mm-hmm. It's been, just to get back to the stuff that's been happening at the site lately, there was a fire last night, and there were 3 other fires that have happened in this area. What is your reaction to this vandalism?
Well, I don't think it matters so much what I think. It's a matter what is the you thinking. What are the other people thinking now? I can speak for myself. And again, I will say that this is a mentality of a few in Caledonia. If you think of how many people reside in Caledonia, and then you count how many were at the barricades, there was 90% of the people who were not there, who didn't come out, who didn't say racial things to us, who didn't want to kill us and shoot us. So that shows that there's a lot of people in Caledonia who know our issues, who know what we're up against, and are for us. They're not all against us. I was losing track of what you asked me.
Oh, just your reaction to the trailer being burnt.
Well, I'm not surprised. That doesn't surprise me. But I think that it's really a bad show for the mentality of the person that did it, and I think we should leave it just like that. And I think we should just put up a sign and say, thank you, Caledonia, this is what you did. It just shows what's in the hearts of the people. And they want us to come and shop in Caledonia when they do that. The chances are very slender, and they're getting slimmer all the time. The more they do, they're pushing for a confrontation with our people. And they are very fortunate that they listened to the chiefs and clan owners the first time they burnt that building up there. I had a soft spot for that, as I cooked in that for quite a while. I was sorry to see that happen to it, because after this was over, that could have been preserved. So this is where cooking was done, and show other generations coming up. Now it's destroyed, and that's sad. Don't you think that is sad?
Mm-hmm. Could have been a museum.
Because I spent a lot of hours in that place. So did, well, you were there with me, and different ones were there with me, and you know what we went through to cook in that place. Mm-hmm. It wasn't easy, but the volunteers made it possible.
Could you speak a bit about the work of the volunteers and what you appreciated and what was good? And
I don't think there's enough words to show the appreciation that I feel, because I was the one who dealt directly with all the different volunteers that came, especially those that came to the kitchen. And that's where they seemed to generate, was to the kitchen with me. Gene was there for a while, and he had some interaction with them too, but I had more interaction with the girls, because I was wanting to make sure they were safe. And then I found out their tents were leaking and they weren't waterproof, and they were wet and cold all night. So I spoke up for a house for them, and they had one house over here, and things kind of were a little better, that they were at least more protected there. And I got locks for their doors and tried to make it as comfortable as I could. But they did incredible things, those people. And we had some good cooks too, really good cooks, and they worked hours, unbelievable hours. They went through a lot. And I'd like to say that our people treated them all really great, but that would be a lie. They didn't. And they put up with a lot of things from our people, and kind of conditions that they were living under. It was just, I'm just totally in love with all those guys. I'd love to see them again. I'd like to have a party just to invite all the volunteers that were here. We'd have to have a lot of food because there was a lot of them. I seen David,
Mhm.
you know, the one with the long hair in Toronto. I think he was asked to leave.
Oh yeah, Dave. Yeah.
I seen him there. He's still walking around with his cameras.
Sonic Dave.
Yeah. What'd they call him?
Sonic Dave. I
Yeah.
think he calls himself that too. Is there anything else you'd want to add, or any kind of final thoughts on
I
that?
think that I'd like to finish with this. I think that the Six Nations people, it is time for them to shine. It's time for them to come together as a nation, act like a nation, and be a nation. It's time for them to stand up for the lands that have been stolen from them, for the monies that have been stolen for them, and it's time for us not to back down and run anymore. I told them, I said, we're not going away, we're not quitting, we're going to be here, you're going to deal with us, and you better deal with us honestly, because now we know the difference. We know if you're lying, we know if you're cheating, and we're not going to put up with it anymore. We got people who know the difference. And you know what? For the first time in a long time, the Confederacy Council and the elected band council are starting to work together, which means we're a powerful front to the people outside of our nation. And they're going to see a solid front among us at all times. And they're going to have a different situation than they had before. They're not going to have somebody running and talking to them behind the backs of the Confederacy Council and their own council. That's not going to happen anymore. We got a chief who wants the good things for our reserve. And he's working with the Confederacy Council, and he's hardest in there. And I'm so happy. It took a long time for this to happen. And I just can't say enough about this, how excited. It's the first time in history that they're working together. And maybe one day soon, we can have no elected band council. And it'll be run by the Confederacy Council the way it was supposed to be. Because they're the ones that want the land. They're the ones that want to recover some territory for our people. And I know the band council chief does too. So that there'll be somewhere for our future generations. They want to give us 26 million. What a slap in the face that is to us, to offer such a thing. How many millions did it take? And would it take them right now to build that Welland Canal if they were to do it over again? How much money would they have to put out and fork out for that? And how much money do they get every year along the Holloman track? The government, when I went to Cuba and I gave them, I spoke there, and I told them, I said, turn to the people. There were a lot of Caledonian people. I said, you think that they're only cheating us? You're wrong. I said, they're cheating you big time. They're stealing from you big time. I said, you are paying taxes to them, to the government, on lands they don't own. And they start to laugh. I said, laugh. Turn right on. I said, go ahead and get hysterical. All the way to the bank. When you're putting your money in there that you're robbing from your children on lands the government doesn't own. Six Nation land is tax-free, and that's what you're living on. I said, if you refuse to pay taxes on Six Nation land, there's nothing they can do about it. And I said, that taxes should come to us. That's where it belongs. In our bank, in our time, for our people, for the first time to be looked after. You know what? If they took that and they gave it to us, there wouldn't be one of us. They could kick the welfare off the reserve. They could kick off all the pensions off the reserve. We wouldn't need it. That should never have had to happen. It was for our care, for our use. Those leases were taken and used for their good. Do you know the place where they have the lawyers? Is that Osgood Hall? Is that the one? We were supposed to be able to go there and train to be lawyers free of charge. Our people paid just as much as anybody else. That's never been honored. They've never honored anything that they've ever said they were going to do. And the only way they will is through us. And we're coming out. And I'm enjoying every blooming minute of it. And if they arrest me, I will not be a happy camper because I don't want to go to jail. I was telling my husband, I said, I wouldn't look good in a slammer at my age. No way.
I'll go if I have to.
Yeah. But you know what? There's no retreat. That's over. Retreat is over. Now we come ahead. We might be taking little baby steps at a time, but we're coming. And I told that mayor in the meeting in Mount Pleasant, I said, you didn't tell these people about the land that's being under dispute. You didn't tell them that we'll come if they build on our land. I said, you got Canesville, you want to do all kinds of stuff there. I said, but guess what? That's on the Johnson track and that's ours. And I said, you better come and see us. So their meeting today was about HDI. They want HDI stopped. The government said he isn't going to do anything. Cooligan said he's not going to do anything, or Brian. The only reason he's saying that is because he knows he can't anyway. Can he come down to the reserve and say, you close that office up and move out of there and you can't do this no more? No. So he's got to save face up there and say he's not going to do anything to stop it. Well, that's because he can't. I'm coming through.
I think my tape's about to run out here.
Pardon?
My tape's about to run out.
I'm done.
Thanks. That was very good, Ruby, as usual.